Good afternoon. I am privy to an idea for a fiction, and I will try to present it in 3 minutes or less, the way you would a movie to a producer or a book to a publisher. Um, and then I'll go over it in more detail as I understand it, and we'll talk about it. But the idea is this: if TSHTF, I don't know why it's hard for me to get that out, just to remember it. But if things fall apart in any kind of a drastic way, uh, and government and or society breaks down to a significant degree, there is a group, an international consortium of technophiles, hackers, preppers, survivalists, who have this list, and they are going to go after the people on the list, starting with the highest number and working on down. These numbers represent, and this is where it gets a little bit sketchy, but anyways, these numbers represent the damage they have caused that have brought about the position that this consortium and everybody else who has survived is in. And you can define that in any number of ways, carbon footprint, how much of a troll were you in life, given how much power you had to either do good or bad. The way it was explained to me, it can be based sort of on the same philosophy that the Chinese are using for their social number for their citizens. The higher your number, that's a good thing in their case. I guess I'm not sure exactly how it works, but the higher your social number, then the more likely you are to get a good job or a loan or a good apartment or whatever they've got going on over there in terms of judging people and limiting their freedoms. In this case, it would be more along the lines of the higher your number is, the more you have done to lead to the destruction that we are now suffering and have to get past. And if you got a high number, but you manage to survive the stupidity, however that looks, you got this international consortium on your, basically watch your six. That's the gist of it. So that's the basis of the story, and where it goes from there and how it ends, I'm assuming, well, in terms of the fiction, it hasn't been worked out yet. In terms of reality, and here we go. Now, I know of this idea as a fiction, but it got me wondering, because there's 7 billion people in the world, because people just love making lists on the internet, because you've got a lot of preppers and survivalists and militias and vigilante type people out there. Are there actually groups who've already conceived of this idea and are saying, okay, now we're just waiting for the beginning of the end so we can start hunting these certain people down and taking them out? And if it were along the lines of the fiction that I'm talking about, well, that would be, I don't want to name any specific industries and certainly not any specific people, but it would be largely environmental damage and or lies that covered up environmental damage, because that will probably be the most serious thing that we're going to be facing if and when this comes first. Just social breakdown, the stupidity of the politics that we're suffering now, and God knows where that is leading, because you got people on both sides just acting like boneheaded. In any event, I thought the idea was really interesting. I know this, that given their output, this may or may not ever actually be written, given what they are capable of doing with any finished projects. This may or may not even get out in front of the public, even if it is finished. So I have no qualms at all about saying it here. If anybody else wants to take the idea and run with it, I actually read a book that was similar. I think it was called The List, but it wasn't a list like this one. This one was a list where I can't remember. I think they were just killing just people in power, regardless of whether they considered them good or bad. It's just, these are people in power, they're in our way. I can't remember. It wasn't a very good book, I can tell you that much. And I won't even get into it because I can barely remember much beyond what I've already disclosed here. Look it up if you want. It wasn't that good of a book. But, no, I'm sure, I don't know who it was recently that just said to some government official, it would have either been Arizona or Georgia, I'm not even sure. There's just so much going on. It's impossible to keep up. But she said, she's either former or current military, but she said, watch your six. That's where we're at now. I mean, that is not a blatant death threat, but that is certainly saying, okay, I've made this public. You've got a target on your back. Now, we all know there's somebody out there that's crazy enough that's going to go aim for it. You know that. That's why she said it. She didn't say, watch your six, I'm coming after you, although she kind of did say that. But regardless of what she said, you can read between the lines. When you have enough of a voice that, for example, somebody like me hears about this because it's on a program that's algorithmic enough that it's going to come across my radar, other people are seeing this also. What you just said is, watch your six, because I just publicly painted a target on your back, and somebody out there is addle-minded enough to go out and take advantage of my giving the go-ahead to have you killed. That's basically what she said. You're a dead man. That's basically what she said. Just because she disagrees with his politics. That's where we are in life. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to cover about this idea. I think it's a really interesting idea, and depending on your concerns or your politics or whatever, that fiction could turn out. Well, yeah, it's a what if thing, which is what you're supposed to continually ask yourself while you're making fiction. What if? Where does the story go from here? What if? What if there's an avalanche? No. What if the car drives off the road? No. What if dinosaurs come back to life? You just start coming up with stuff until you hit something that's like, okay, that's a good idea. But in terms of this, this fiction is concerned with who are the people that had the greatest influence on all the factors that brought us to this place where TSHTF, which, given every indication, is where we're headed. And just given, like I said, given your biases, your politics, your whatever, you would have a much different list than anybody else would. But consider, if you got together with a group of people and said, well, when everything crumbles and there's just us out there in the wilderness and these people who screwed everything up, we need to go take care of those people who screwed everything up because we don't want the next society to be like this one was. Okay, who are those people? How do you even get to them? And this reminds me of something that I read and or saw recently, because there was more than one guy saying this. They were consultants or instructors or whatever, survivalists, and they were talking to some rich elite people, and instead of being concerned of, how do I make sure that I have clean potable water, food, this, that, and the other, it was along the lines of, how do I have an army of people to protect me, and how do I control them? Can I put neck collars on them? I mean, just crazy stuff like this. That's their thought. Not okay, if society crumbles, how do we make communities and start over from scratch? It's like, okay, if society crumbles, how do I still control other people? Oh my God, this is where we're at. This is. There is us and them. There is this clean demarcation between, let's see if we can hold this thing together. Let's see if we can change things for the better. Let's see, and how do I maintain control? How do I extract even more resources to hoard? How do I make other people suffer? I have never seen anything like this, and I've been around for a few years. I don't know of any other culture or society throughout history that was quite as demented, yet still functioning to any degree as ours is. But we'll see how it turns out. I just thought I would, since I am aware of this fiction, and I thought it was an interesting idea, I thought I would throw it out there and see what everybody else thinks, and who knows. By the way, I didn't mention the most important part, and this is anyways just a working title at this point, but it may remain. What it's being called is The Numbers Game, which is obviously a play on The Hunger Games. But the numbers game is, okay, if you're on the list, that means you've got a number. The higher your number, the more we want to know about you, where you're going to be when TSHTF, and watch your six. I certainly hope it doesn't come to that. And while I don't like who the people who are screwing things up for everybody else, what they're doing, I sure don't trust vigilante groups to get it right and go around and take out those people. But I'm not in control of things. Whatever happens, happens. Alright, thank you for watching, and if you didn't watch, well then, what's wrong with you, man?